Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is so good to have you here. Today, we're tackling something that I think a lot of people are obsessing over.
Oh, yeah.
But frankly, very few people actually understand how to execute. We are talking about artificial intelligence.
It's the topic of the decade, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
But hold on, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, great, another tech talk about chatbots, or, here we go, more hype about the robot apocalypse. Let me just stop you right there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a deep dive about the technology for the sake of technology. This isn't about how to write code.
Not at all.
This is about the business of the tech.
Exactly. And that distinction is everything. It's the difference between, say, knowing how an internal combustion engine works, understanding pistons, spark plugs, all that stuff.
Right, the mechanics of it.
And knowing how to run a profitable global logistics company.
I love that comparison. That's perfect.
Think about it. You don't need to be a mechanic to be the CEO of FedEx. You don't need to know how to fix a transmission. But you absolutely need to know how to deploy the fleet. You need to know the economics of fuel, the logistics.
Right.
If you just go out and buy a fleet of Ferraris to deliver pizza because you love how the engine sounds, well, you might understand the car, but you've completely failed the business model.
That is the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah.
Buying a Ferrari to deliver pizza. I think a lot of companies are doing exactly that right now.
They absolutely are. So much of it.
So our stack of research today it's fascinating. We've pulled together a massive collection of strategic scenarios, architectural decision tree solution guides, specifically focused on the Google Cloud Gen AI ecosystem. It is a heavy stack of papers.
There's a lot of depth in there.
Yeah.
A lot to unpack.
But our mission, it isn't to teach you how to code.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is to take these sources and, turn them into a strategy session for a non-technical leader. We want to cut through the hype, and there is so much hype, to find the actual business of AI. We're doing this for the person who has to sign the check or the person who has to manage the team using this stuff.
And that distinction is so critical. We see so many leaders getting dazzled, you know? They see a cool demo, they see a magic trick, and they say, I want that.
Give me one of those.
Exactly. But they skip all the foundational questions, like, does this solve a problem? Does it save any money? Does it make any money?
Right. They're skipping to the dessert before they've even looked at the menu.
Or, to use an analogy we're going to come back to a lot today, it's like trying to build a house by just ordering a truckload of bricks and windows because they look nice.
Yeah.
Without ever hiring an architect or even getting a blueprint.
I love that. The building a house analogy. We're going to stick with that. So we have a lot to cover. We're going to talk about the fundamental shift in what AI actually is, the tools you can give your employees right now to make them almost superhuman, and how to build customer-facing products that don't, embarrass you.
That's a low bar, but an important one.
A very important one. But let's start at the very, very beginning. The why and the what.
Let's do it.
There is so much confusion in the terminology. We hear AI, we hear machine learning, generative AI, and for a layperson or even a busy executive, it all just sounds like magic computer stuff.
It's just a word cloud of tech.
Exactly. But the sources make a very specific distinction here that I found really helpful. They describe artificial intelligence as the big bucket, the overarching field.
Right. AI is the umbrella term. It's been around since the 1950s, really. It's just the broad concept of machines doing smart things.
But then they distinguish between predictive analytics, which, we've had for a while, and this new thing, generative AI. And this is where the business value really shifts. Can you break that down for us? Why does this distinction matter to a CEO?
Sure. And I think the best way to visualize this is with a weather analogy.
Okay, I'm listening.
Traditional AI, or what we call predictive AI, is like a weather forecaster.
A forecast.
It looks at historical data, humidity, temperature, pressure patterns from the last decade, and it calculates a probability. It says, okay, based on all this data, there's an 80% chance of rain tomorrow.
So it analyzes existing data to predict a future outcome. It classifies things. Is this a picture of a cat or a dog? Is this transaction fraudulent or is it safe?
Precisely. It classifies in a forecast. It's analytical. It works with what's already there. But generative AI, that's a whole different beast. Generative AI is a weather writer.
A writer, what do you mean?
I mean, it doesn't just tell you it's going to rain. It can write you a story about a storm that never even happened. It can generate a video of a hurricane hitting a city that doesn't exist. It creates new data, new text, new images, new code that wasn't there before.
Wow, that is a massive shift. So the forecaster looks at the world and tells you about it. The writer actually creates a new world.
Exactly. And in a business context, this moves us from just optimizing to creating. If you look at the source material, they talk about adaptive personalization. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Oh, I saw that example. The language learning app, right?
Yes, this is a perfect example of the shift. Think about how a traditional app works. It's deterministic. You take a quiz, you get a question wrong. The app just says incorrect.
Right. And maybe it shows you the rule again. It's static.
Totally static. Everyone gets the same quiz, more or less.
Yeah.
Or maybe it bumps you down a level, but that level is pre-written. It's like one of those choose-your-own-adventure books where all the pages are already printed.
Right. You can only go down a few fixed paths.
But with generative AI, the weather writer, the system can observe why you got it wrong. Was it the vocabulary? Or did you misunderstand the grammar structure? Or maybe you just always struggle with past tense verbs.
Mm-hmm.
Then it generates a completely unique path just for you. It writes a new lesson on the fly, specifically to address your point of confusion.
So it isn't just picking from a pre-written list of options. It's building the bridge while you're walking on it.
That is adaptive personalization. And that is a business game changer. It increases engagement and retention in ways static rules just never could. It totally changes the economics of content creation because you're not paying 1,000 humans to write 1,000 variations of a quiz anymore.
Right.
You have an engine that writes 1,000,000 variations for essentially zero marginal cost.
That idea, zero marginal cost for creation, that is just wild. Another concept the sources really hammer on in this phase is semantic understanding. They compare keyword search to semantic search.
Yeah.
That feels like something every business leader needs to get their head around because it affects how their customers find anything.
It's huge. And frankly, most websites today are still using the old way.
Really?
Still.
Oh, yeah. The old way keyword search is just dumb matching. If I search for the word bank, the search engine is just looking for the string of letters B-A-N-K.
Right.
It has no idea if I mean a river bank or a financial bank. It's just playing go fish with letters. It's matching shapes. No understanding.
Exactly. It is totally literal. But semantic search, which is powered by these large language models, understands intent. It understands context.
Okay.
So if I type, I need a place to store my money, it knows to show me financial institutions, even if I never use the word bank.
Because it gets the meaning behind the query, not just the words.
And if I say, I want to go fishing near the water, it knows I'm talking about a riverbank. Now, for a business, let's say you're a retailer, this means your customers don't have to know the exact technical name of your product. They just have to describe their problem, and the AI understands what they need.
That connects directly to one of the scenarios in the source material, the one about the online travel marketplace. They weren't focused on the tech specs. They were focused on the business requirement.
Right. They wanted to increase the open rate of their marketing messages. That was the goal. They used Gen AI to personalize those messages based on a semantic understanding of what the traveler actually cared about. So it's not just, you went to Paris, here's another ticket to Paris.
Yeah, the dumb version.
It's, you seem to like romantic historic cities with good food. Maybe you should try Prague.
That is the difference between a robot spamming you and, like, a concierge making a thoughtful suggestion.
Exactly. And that is the shift from predictive to generative, from matching keywords to understanding meaning.
Okay, so we know what it is. It's a creator, not just a predictor. It understands meaning, not just words. Now let's move on. Section 2, the foundation. Because this is where most companies completely mess up.
The strategy phase, or more accurately, the lack thereof.
The sources are very, very blunt here. They talk about a trap. A company gets excited about AI, they see the stock market going crazy, and what is the first thing they do?
They go shopping.
They go shopping. It's retail therapy for the enterprise.
It really is. They say, we need GPUs, we need the biggest, baddest hardware, we need to hire 20 PhD data scientists right now.
And the sources say, don't do that.
Please, for the love of everything, do not do that. The source material explicitly states that the recommended first step is not buying hardware. It's not even writing code.
What is it then?
It's change management and governance.
Which sounds boring. Let's be honest, governance is not a sexy word.
No, it's not.
It sounds like paperwork. It sounds like meetings that could have been emails.
It isn't sexy, but let's go back to our house analogy. You decide you want to build a mansion. If your first move is to go to the lumberyard and just buy 10,000 bricks and a bunch of expensive marble,
right,
but you haven't drawn a blueprint and you haven't checked the zoning laws.
You're just going to have a pile of expensive bricks sitting in a muddy field.
And the zoning inspector, who in this case is your legal and compliance team, is going to come and shut you down so fast.
Okay, so the blueprint is the use case, and the building permits are the governance.
Correct. You have to identify a high-value use case first. What problem are we actually trying to solve? Then you establish the governance. Who is allowed to use this? What data is safe to put into it? How do we make sure it doesn't leak our secrets?
Right.
Only after you have that do you worry about the bricks, the GPUs, and the models.
Let's dig into that governance piece a bit more, because for a non-technical leader, that can feel really vague. What does it actually look like in practice?
Well, it starts with something as basic as data classification.
Okay.
It means looking at all of your company's information and saying, okay, this pile over here is public marketing info. It's totally safe to put that into ChatGPT. This pile over here, though, is customer financial records. That's eyes only.
And if that goes into a public model?
You might go to jail, or at least face a massive fine.
That is a pretty important distinction to make.
It is fundamental, and you would be shocked at how many companies don't have that sorted out before they let their employees start playing with these AI tools.
There's a really interesting dynamic in the sources regarding leadership, too. They discuss top-down versus bottom-up approaches. It seems like a lot of CEOs get this wrong.
Oh, yeah. This is a very delicate balance.
The top-down part. The CEO's job, it isn't to micromanage the tools. The source says the CEO should not be mandating AI in every meeting.
That is a recipe for disaster. If you force people to use a tool they don't need, they'll just resent it. It becomes innovation theater.
What's that?
You know, looking busy but actually doing nothing of value. The CEO's job is to set the vision. We are going to be an AI-enabled company. They need to provide the resources, the budget, the training, and crucially, they need to establish the guardrails, the governance we just talked about.
So the CEO basically builds the sandbox and says, play in here, but don't throw sand in people's eyes.
That's a perfect way to put it. And then the bottom-up strategy is empowering the teams on the ground, the people actually doing the work to find the use cases. The marketing team knows they need help with copy. The coding team knows they need help with boilerplate code. You let them bubble up the ideas because they know where the real pain points are.
But there is a danger in just letting everyone experiment, right? The sources describe this scenario of a frustrated CEO because their innovation lab has been running for 6 months, and it's produced a bunch of really cool demos, but zero revenue.
Ah, yes. The skunkworks trap.
Skunkworks.
It's an old term for a secret R&D group. Innovation labs are fantastic for prototypes. They are terrible for production.
Why is that? Why doesn't the cool demo just turn into cash?
Because a prototype doesn't have to scale. A prototype doesn't have an a service level agreement.
Right. It doesn't have to be reliable.
Exactly. A prototype doesn't have security clearance to access real customer banking data. It just runs on a laptop in a controlled room.
And real life is messy.
Right.
Real life has millions of users hitting your server at the same time.
Precisely. The source material is very specific about the fix here. When you find a prototype that actually has real business value, say that bank agent that helps customers, you have to change the team structure.
You can't just tell the prototype guys to work harder.
No. You form a funded, cross-functional delivery team. That's the key phrase. You bring in engineers who actually know how to scale servers. You bring in security experts who know about encryption. You bring in product managers.
And you give them a budget.
You give them a real budget and executive sponsorship. You treat it like a real product launch, not a science fair project.
That's a crucial distinction. Moving from science fair to product launch.
It's the only way you're going to get an ROI, a return on investment. Otherwise, you're just paying for cool demos. And let me tell you, cool demos do not pay the salaries.
Okay, let's assume we have our strategy. We have our blueprint, we've got our permits, we're ready to start building. Now we need to equip our workforce.
Yeah.
So Section 3 is all about the toolkit. This is the internal focus, helping your employees become superheroes.
Right. This is all about augmentation.
The sources highlight 3 specific tools here that really illustrate different ways of working. I want to go through them because they're very practical. The first one is Notebook LM. And I have to say, the description of this tool just makes me want to use it immediately.
It's a game changer for any kind of knowledge work.
They call it a personal research assistant. But hold on, how is that different from just asking ChatGPT a question? Why do I need a special tool for that?
The key word, and you'll hear this a lot, is grounded.
Grounded.
When you ask a general chatbot a question, it's pulling its answer from the entire internet, Reddit, Wikipedia, random blogs, 4chan, you name it.
Right.
It might hallucinate. It definitely doesn't know your business. It has never seen your strategy deck from 2024.
Right. It's brilliant, but it's a generalist. It's like asking a random genius on the street about your company's secret product plans. They have no clue.
Exactly. Notebook LM is different. You upload your PDFs, your market research, your meeting notes, your strategy docs. It grounds its intelligence in only those documents you provide.
So, using the analogy from the notes, it's like a research assistant that only reads the books you put on its desk.
That's it exactly. You can dump 20 academic papers on its desk and say, summarize the key themes regarding renewable energy in these specific docs. It won't make things up.
And it will cite them.
It will cite the specific page in the specific PDF where it found the answer.
That citation part is huge. That's incredibly powerful for building trust. If I'm a CEO preparing for a board meeting, I don't want general internet advice. I want to know what my reports say, and I want to be able to click a link and verify it instantly.
Precisely. It turns information overload into actionable insight. It's not just generating text, it's synthesizing your truth.
I can see that being used by legal teams, research teams, even students. Okay, next up is the Daily Driver Gemini for Workspace. This is the one that's integrated into Gmail and Docs. The concept here is augmentation versus automation. Can you unpack that for us?
Sure. People often mix the two up. Automation is for the boring, repetitive stuff. Data entry, moving files from one folder to another. Robots should do that. We want that to just happen in the background without us thinking about it. Augmentation is about enhancing human capability.
So making the human better, not replacing them.
Right. So if you're staring at a blank page trying to write a really difficult email to a client in negotiation, maybe Gemini can draft a starting point for you. It doesn't replace it. You still have to edit it, add your own voice, check the nuance, but it gets you past that initial writer's block.
It overcomes the blank page syndrome. I think we've all been there, just staring at that blinking cursor.
Or imagine you come back from vacation to an email thread that has 50 replies. The nightmare scenario. That's my actual nightmare. Slav, the absolute worst. Usually you'd have to spend an hour just reading to catch up. Gemini can summarize the whole discussion, highlight the key action items, and tell you exactly where you're needed. That's augmentation.
So it's not doing the work for you, but
It's buying you time to do the important thinking work rather than the tedious reading work.
it gives you your brain back. Okay, and then the third tool in the toolkit, gems. This sounds a bit like a video game currency, but it's actually a personalization feature.
It does sound like a game, but think of gems as customized personas.
The example in the source was pretty funny. A user who wants an assistant that is always sarcastic.
Right. Which is fun, but let's look at the business case for it.
Yeah.
Imagine you have two different modes at work. Sometimes you're the project manager.
Okay.
You need to be strict, detail-oriented, track deadlines, and be very formal in your communication.
Where is the report? It is due at 5 p.m. That person.
Exactly. Other times, you're the creative brainstormer. You need to be loose, open, wild, and just throw out crazy ideas.
And you don't want to have to re-explain who you are every time you open a new chat. Hey, remember, for this conversation, I'm being the strict boss now.
Exactly. With gems, you create a project manager gem that already knows all the project codes, the deadlines, and the team members. Then you create a creative gem that knows your brand voice and your favorite brainstorming techniques. You just switch between them.
It's like putting on different hats.
It saves context, it saves tone, it makes the tool feel like it actually knows you and what you're trying to do. It just reduces the friction of interacting with the AI.
Okay, so that covers the internal tools. This is how we make our own people faster and smarter. Now let's look outward. Section 4, building the factory. This is about building applications for your customers. And the sources introduce a tool called Vertex AI Agent Builder.
This is for the builders, for sure.
But the analogy here is the Lego set.
I like that.
Yes. In the old days, and by old days I mean like 3 years ago, which is an eternity in AI.
If you wanted to build a customer service bot, you needed serious engineers writing Python code, managing servers, dealing with APIs, handling authentication. It was like molding plastic from raw chemicals.
Hard work. Very expensive work. You needed a PhD just to get started.
But Vertex AI Agent Builder is a Lego set. You have pre-made blocks. Here's a search block. Here's a conversation block. Here's a connection block. You just snap them together.
So a marketing team with 0 engineers could theoretically build a simple bot.
The source material explicitly mentions a scenario just like that. A marketing team needing an FAQ bot by tomorrow. With Agent Builder, that's actually realistic. You point it at your FAQ document on your website, you snap on a chat interface, and you're live.
Well,
No code required for the basics.
and there's always but what if we need the bot to actually do something? We talked about the weather writer creating text, but business is about action. Checking an order status, booking a flight, processing a return.
This is the most exciting frontier right now. Tools and function calling.
Function calling. It sounds technical, but let's break it down because this seems to be where the real ROI lives.
Okay, so think of the AI model, like Gemini, as a brain in a jar.
A brain in a jar, okay.
It's super smart, it can talk, it can reason, it can write you a sonnet, but it has no hands. It can't type on a keyboard, it can't click a mouse, it can't check your inventory database.
It's trapped in the jar. So it can imagine giving me a refund, but it can't actually process one.
Exactly. Tools, or function calling, are the hands. You give the AI a tool, which is basically just a connection to an API. You say, hey, AI, if the user asks about their package, here's a tool that can look up the tracking number in our system.
So the AI recognizes the intent, where is my stuff, and then it decides to pick up that specific tool and use it.
Exactly right. It constructs a little piece of code, usually in a format called JSON, sends it to the tool, and waits for the answer to come back, and this leads directly to the React framework that's mentioned in the sources.
React. So reasoning plus acting. This sounds like a cognitive process.
It is. It describes the loop the AI goes through. It's not just guessing an answer, it follows a very deliberate cycle. Let's walk through a delivery example.
Okay, let's do it.
First, the model will think. The user wants their package status. To get that, I need their tracking number. Second, it will act. It will call the shipping API tool with that tracking number.
And then what?
Then it will observe. It waits for the API to send back the data. Maybe the data says delivered today at 2 p.m. Then it thinks again, okay, I have the answer now. The package has been delivered. And then finally it answers the user. Good news, your package arrived at 2 p.m.
Think, act, observe, think. It's basically the scientific method happening in milliseconds.
It is, and it's what allows these agents to handle really complex multi-step tasks, like planning a whole delivery itinerary where they have to check traffic, then check driver schedules, then update the route, and then email the customer. It chains these thoughts and actions together.
Now, there's a big risk here that we have to address. The hallucinations. The AI just confidently lying. If I'm a bank, I cannot have my bot inventing new interest rates.
No.
If I'm a hospital, I can't have it inventing diagnoses.
Absolutely not. That is a firing offense for the bot. It destroys trust instantly and you can never get it back.
So what's the solution? The architecture in the sources talks about RAG retrieval augmented generation. We sort of touched on this with Notebook LM, but how does it work at an enterprise scale?
The best analogy is the open book test.
Okay, go on.
If I ask you a super specific question about, say, quantum physics, and I tell you to answer from memory, you might make some stuff up to sound smart.
I definitely would.
Right. That's a standard LLM hallucinating.
Yeah.
It's trying to predict the next logical word based on everything it's ever read, which creates this weird blend of fact and fiction.
It's basically dreaming.
It is. But if I give you a textbook on quantum physics and I say you can look up the answer in this book before you speak, your accuracy goes up to nearly 100%.
So our ag is giving the AI the textbook.
Yes. The textbook is your company's trusted data, and it's typically stored in something called a vector database.
Vector database. We should probably define that really quickly.
Sure. Simply put, it's a special kind of database that stores information based on its meaning, not just keywords. It converts text into numbers like coordinates in a big mathematical space. And concepts that are similar are stored close together.
So puppy and dog would be neighbors in this space.
Exactly. So when a customer asks a question, the AI doesn't just blurt out an answer from its memory. It first performs a search against the vector database using something like vertex and size search. It retrieves the relevant facts, like the specific paragraph about your bank's interest rates, and then it generates the answer based only on those retrieved facts.
It grounds the creativity in reality.
It forces the weather writer to check the actual weather report before writing the story. It separates the language capability, the ability to write good sentences, from the knowledge base, the actual facts.
That is the perfect callback. So we have the tools, which is Agent Builder, the hands, which is function calling, and the truth, which is RG. Okay, now let's talk about the big strategic choices the CEO has to make. Section 5. Open versus closed.
This is a huge debate in the industry right now. It gets almost religious for some people.
The scenario in the source is a team that wants to inspect the model's internal weights. They want to see under the hood for, say, research or transparency reasons.
Right. If you need to see exactly how the engine is built, or if you want to modify the engine block itself, fine-tune it really deeply, then you need an open model, something like Llama from Meta or Gemma from Google.
And the alternative to that is?
Proprietary models like Gemini or GPT-4 from OpenAI. These are closed systems, black boxes. You can't see the weights. You can't change the core training. But, and this is a big but, they're usually easier to use. They come with native integrations into other products, and they're fully managed for you.
So it's kind of the difference between building your own custom car from a kit that's the open model versus leasing a high-end luxury sedan. That's the proprietary one.
That's a perfect analogy. With the custom kit car, you have total control. You can paint it purple, you can swap the transmission, but you are also responsible for every single nut and bolt. If it breaks down, it's on you.
Right.
With the luxury sedan, you just get in and drive, but you can't swap out the engine for a different one.
And what's Google's stance here? Because usually big tech companies want to lock you into their walled garden, use our stuff or nothing.
That's what's so interesting. The sources highlight Google's strategy as an open ecosystem. They're trying to play both sides of this.
Much so.
They say, look, we have Gemini, which is our amazing state-of-the-art proprietary model. You should use it. But they also say, but hey, if you want to use Llama or other open source models, you can run them on our hardware, on Vertex AI.
So they're selling the road, regardless of which car you decide to drive on it.
Precisely. They want to be the platform. They don't want to force you into a specific model if it doesn't fit your business requirement, like that need for transparency. It's a really smart play because the model landscape changes literally every week. The platform is what's stable.
Speaking of fitting the business requirement, there's a note here about specialized AI. The idea that not everything needs to be a genius chatbot.
Yes, this is the right tool for the right job principle. It's so important.
The example given is reading handwritten clinical notes.
Oh, doctor's handwriting. The ultimate challenge for any AI.
The ultimate Turing test right there.
You don't need a conversational genius like Gemini for that. You don't need it to write poetry about the diagnosis. You just need a specialized tool. In this case, something like Document AI. It is purpose-built to do one thing and one thing only: read messy documents and extract structured data from them.
It's not trying to be creative. It just wants to find the insurance ID number.
Correct. Or another example is Contact Center AI, or CCAI. If you want to analyze 10,000 call logs to find out why your customers are so angry this month, you don't ask a chatbot to read them one by one.
No.
You use CCAI insights to mine all that data for patterns and sentiment at a massive scale.
It's using a scalpel instead of a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. Don't overpay for generalized intelligence when all you really need is specialized pattern recognition.
Okay, we are coming into the home stretch, section 6. We have the strategy, we have the tools, we have the architecture. How do we know if any of this is working? The scoreboard.
Measuring success. This is where the technical people and the business people so often speak completely different languages, and it causes so much friction.
The sources list some wrong metrics, things like perplexity and temperature.
Size. If a data scientist walks into a board meeting and says, "Great news, everyone, our model has a perplexity score of 12, the CEO should kindly ask them to leave and come back when they can speak English."
Why? I mean, what does perplexity even mean?
The technical definition. It measures how surprised the model is by new data. A lower score means it predicted the text well. But practically, it means absolutely nothing to the bottom line.
Okay.
It's a mechanic telling you about the compression ratio of the engine when you asked how fast the delivery is going to get there.
It's an engineering metric, not a business metric.
Exactly. It's useful for the person building the model, totally useless for the person paying for it.
So what are the right metrics? What should that CEO be asking for?
The sources are really clear on this. Operational value.
Give me an example.
Okay, take the coding assistant we talked about earlier. Don't measure how many lines of code it wrote. That just encourages bloated, inefficient code.
Right.
Measure the reduction in time spent on boilerplate. Measure the development velocity. How much faster did we ship the new feature to our customers?
Speed to market.
Yes. For a content marketing team, how much faster can we launch a new campaign? Did we go from 2 weeks down to 2 days? That is real money. For a customer service team, did we successfully deflect 20% of inbound calls to the new bot, saving us X amount of dollars in agent time?
That's hard savings you can take to the bank.
And for a mission-critical system, like in a hospital,
It would have to be availability and SLA.
uptime. That's it. It doesn't matter how smart the bot is if it's offline when a doctor needs a critical piece of information. Reliability is a business metric. Latency, how fast does it answer, is a business metric.
The sources also make this distinction between technical specs and business requirements.
This is a huge pet peeve of mine. I see RFPs, requests for proposals, all the time that list things like, must run on Python 3.9.
And that's wrong.
It's a technical spec. That is not a business requirement. Why do you care if it's written in Python or Java or, written in Crayon, as long as it solves the business problem?
So what's a business requirement then, in contrast?
A business requirement is, must increase customer retention by 5%, or must respond to the user in under 2 seconds. The business requirement defines the outcome, not the tool.
Focus on the what and the why, and let the engineers figure out the how.
Exactly. The moment you start by dictating the Python version, you have already lost the strategic plot. You are buying bricks again instead of designing the house.
Okay, let's just quickly recap this whole journey. We started with the realization that Gen AI is a weather writer. It's a creator, not just a forecaster. We learned that we need a blueprint governance before we ever think about buying bricks, which is the hardware.
We filled up our toolkit with Notebook LM for grounded research and the Agent Builder Lego set for easy construction. We learned how to connect those agents to the real world with tools and ground them in truth with RGAG.
And finally, we learned to keep score with real business metrics like speed to market, not with technical jargon that nobody understands.
That's the roadmap. That is the business of AI in a nutshell.
Before we sign off, though, I want to leave our listeners with one final provocative thought. Something that jumped out at me from the source material, and it kept me up a bit last night thinking about it.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked a lot about augmentation. We talked about AI handling the boilerplate work, the boring coding, the basic drafting of emails, the routine data entry, and we celebrate this efficiency.
Right. It's about freeing humans up to do the higher level strategic thinking, the creative work.
But here's the question. If the AI does all the boilerplate work, how do the junior employees ever learn?
That is a really profound question.
Think about it. We all started by doing the grunt work. I wrote terrible code before I ever wrote good code. I drafted boring, simple emails before I was trusted to negotiate big deals. That's how we learned the basics. That's how we built our intuition.
The training ground. You're talking about removing the training ground.
Exactly. If a junior coder never has to write boilerplate code because the AI does it perfectly in 2 seconds, how did they gain the experience to become a senior coder who can actually review the AI's work and know if it's any good?
You're talking about the hollowing out of the skill ladder. We're removing the bottom rungs because we see them as inefficient. But those rungs are how you learn to climb to the top.
Right. And if we aren't careful, we might end up with a generation of architects who have never actually laid a brick. They know all the theory, but they don't know the feel of the material.
That is the hidden cost of all this efficiency. It means companies need to be incredibly intentional about mentorship and creating new kinds of training. You can't just rely on learning by osmosis anymore because the AI is doing all the work that used to provide that osmosis.
Something for you all to chew on as you go back to your own blueprints.
Indeed. Efficiency is great, but don't sacrifice mastery along the way.
That is it for this deep dive. Go build your house, but please make sure you get those permits first. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.